Hey, what up everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today. The talk of the town is that Samoa Joe is going to be moving up to the main roster as soon as the Raw after WrestleMania 32. Every year when the Raw after WrestleMania comes, everybody knows that there is going to be a state of change of people debuting in WWE. Of course, at WrestleMania 31, we saw the debut of Neville, and then, of course, after WrestleMania 28, we had the return of Brock Lesnar, which, Neville wasn't the biggest, superstar to debut. Some people can say that, he is a part of WWE. He had a big match at SummerSlam this year, being a part of the Stardust and Stephen Amell deal. But maybe, he's had matches that people remember, such as Neville versus Rollins, Neville versus Cena. Maybe he's not the biggest superstar to come, but there's always somebody who debuts, which is sort of like a glimpse of hope of what's going to be coming up. From here on out in this video, there might be a few NXT spoilers that will be coming. So if you are, a diehard NXT person who doesn't want to know, maybe this is the time that you click out of the video if you're still with me. But as of right now, what is taped to get us to the NXT TakeOver special is that it is going to be Samoa Joe going up against Finn Balor in the main event, which of course is a rematch of the main event of Joe versus Balor at the NXT. I can't remember if it was NXT London or NXT England, or of course where Finn Balor came out to the ring dressed as Jack the Ripper, and it was a good match. I didn't think that it was great. It definitely wasn't one of the best NXT takeovers of all time. But it was a good, fun match to watch in the middle of the day because, of course, it was filmed live on the WWE Network. So I think it was like at 3 or 3:30. There was a live special on the network. And, of course, they're trying things different. They did the show from Japan. They did the show from London. But when it comes down to it, Joe versus Balor in the rematch is definitely going to leave a weird spot. There's people who are saying that Finn Balor is going to be staying in NXT for a long time. There's people thinking that, each and every time there's a surprise for a pay-per-view, whether if it's, Night of Champions, where they had Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose was going to have a surprise partner, or, during the John Cena United States Open Challenge. Every time they sort of have this mystery sort of deal, everyone thinks that it's always going to be Finn Balor moving up. Definitely, people put stock in Finn Balor as being the future of the WWE, whether if that's him coming up in a year, whether if that's him coming up in a month. Finn Balor more than likely is going to have to lose the NXT Championship before leaving NXT and moving up. I would understand if they wanted to leave Finn Balor there for an extended period of time, seeing how NXT is going to be starting to tour in order to make more money, and maybe make it where NXT is going to be able to make a profit. Today in wrestling news, we had, I believe, 4 or 5 NXT competitors led by Bull Dempsey released. Maybe this is guys that they don't see having a real future in WWE, or maybe this is guys that they just need to cut costs, and they can't have 1,000 guys working out at the Performance Center and being a part of NXT week in and week out. They only have so many spots to be on television, and you can't have guys just wasting space. They have that sign that you saw on the NXT show about the Performance Center, where it's just basically for you to come into the Performance Center, you have to be replacing somebody else. And when somebody else comes into the Performance Center, they have to be replacing somebody else. So make sure that your spot matters. I butchered what that sign said, but it's something really good to the point of putting you on the spot. If you're lucky to be here, take advantage of your situation. Samoa Joe, since coming to WWE, it's been rumored if he was going to be on the main roster or if he was just going to be in NXT. He's definitely been one of the best guys competing in NXT, and I think that honestly, if you do move this guy up to the main roster, he is going to be able to make a splash, whether if that's him wrestling in the main events right away, or if this is him just sort of filling up the mid-card. Definitely with James Storm coming into NXT for his 2 matches that he had, definitely with Samoa Joe being a part of there, and now Austin Aries going to be debuting for NXT soon. you don't want this to turn into the Performance Center. I understand if you got one guy. I understand if you got two guys. AJ Styles just joined the main roster. You don't really want this to turn into the bootleg Impact Zone. If you wanted that, you could just buy TNA and turn that into NXT and try and see if you can get something off of there. They at least would have a television network to run NXT off of, but I don't think they really want to move it off of the network at the same time. But I can really see Joe versus Balor at the NXT special as, the winner is going to stay in NXT and the loser will move up to the main roster. It would be a plus to the main roster if it was Samoa Joe, but I think it would be a bigger plus if Finn Balor moved up. But as I said, I think they need Balor there for their expansion of NXT. Definitely people know of Finn Balor, whether if it's the Bullet Club and Prince Devitt or actually being somebody who watches NXT week in and week out, that this guy is special and he is one of the best wrestlers in the world, and he is very appealing. So, maybe you definitely tell that the women's roster with Charlotte, Sasha Banks, and Becky Lynch moving up, you left Bayley there with Carmella and Alexa Bliss. You've got some really good-looking girls, but the wrestling has really taken a step down. You've got Bayley who can go trying to lead girls through matches who really aren't the best wrestlers in the world. You don't really want to gut this roster too much, seeing how, NXT won Best Wrestling Show of the Year on the Wrestling Observer Award. So we'll see what's going on with Joe. Honestly, in my opinion, if I had to bet money, Finn Balor moves up before Joe does. But I don't know if NXT is going to put that much faith in Samoa Joe to be the main guy of the roster. Seeing how you've got Apollo Crews. I don't want to take away from him, and I think he's going to be really, really good, and I can see him being a champion for WWE someday, but I don't know if they have enough stock in Samoa Joe and Apollo Crews to carry NXT, whether if it's touring up and down the East Coast or going to music festivals come spring and summertime, being able to sell tickets. It's not really like with WWE. You can have a house show and just say WWE presents a live show. When NXT is coming to town, people want to see big names because I don't think that people have as much faith in the NXT brand name without a Finn Balor as they do in WWE with Roman Reigns and John Cena, Dean Ambrose, and your cast of friends there.